I was so good that I had 0 scholarship offers, none. And so I didn't know what I was really going to do.
You played for the Reds. You played in the big leagues and the major leagues for 10 years.
There was a tryout?
Oh,
Talk about how this even
Yes.
began to evolve for you.
And do they even do that anymore?
We go out there, I got a pair of cutoffs on, a tank top, I think a headband. I was just, it's a lark. Let's go. Why not? I take a few ground balls at shortstop, I run the 60-yard dash, take a few swings, and a scout comes up and he says, "You're not real serious about this, are you?" And I went, "No." He said, "Well, what if I thought I saw some talent in you?" And I'd say, "Look, you be the only one."
We love to provide hope for other people to
Amen.
dream big and to follow God's plan in their life. And I think you have a great story that needs to be told.
Was there ever a moment when you got through that where you said, "Is this it? Is there something more?"
I got it, and I was almost more ticked off that I didn't get those others than when I did get the one that I was after. I didn't realize how selfish I was until I realized how selfish I was.
Well, Doug Flynn, we are so excited to have you on the podcast today. Welcome to Defining Moments.
Thank you. I love your shop.
It's really great.
It is
isn't
really, really cool. And I had no idea it was here until JP said, you ought to come by and check out this little place. And so I came over and I was trying to find a room to stay.
There you go. He says I oversell it, but I
don't think you can oversell it. No, you
That's
can't.
Right. That's right.
It's beautiful.
Well, we are just so grateful to have you. And today we're going to dive into the defining moments of your life. Who is Doug Flynn and what has shaped his life? And we like to really tell the stories of people from Kentucky. And you've done quite a lot and had quite a career. And we think your story should be known.
Well, I'm humbled and honored. Thank you. I've been very blessed, obviously, with the things that I get to do. And I think as I get older now, people are saying, "So tell me, how did it get started?" And it's pretty weird. It's pretty wild. And it's pretty God-driven, I'll tell you that.
Well, isn't that amazing? And we love to provide hope for other people to
Amen.
dream big and to follow God's plan in their life. And I think you have a great story that needs to be told. So let me just give you a little background on Doug.
Let's do it, MK.
So Doug was a superstar athlete in everything you did.
Not really.
You grew up here in Lexington and went to Bryan Station High School, but you were a 3-sport athlete in high school. Played football. He was the quarterback of the football team, baseball and basketball. I'm sure every girl wanted to date you, right?
No, because I was too short. which is kind of funny because I really didn't date in high school.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my prom date that I had went back with her boyfriend, and so I didn't even have a date to the prom. But as it turned out, we were prom king and queen. We had to dance that first dance, and it was a little rough.
I bet she felt bad.
It was a little rough. All right, let's go years later. Her husband is now my doctor.
Oh, wow. What a
Is
small
life good?
world.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so funny.
But I did play 3 sports, but I really wasn't that good. And people say, "Well, how did you get to where you got?" Well, I was a late bloomer. I didn't make any all-city teams. I wasn't that guy who could define a team. I was a pretty good complementary player on some really good teams. And I think because of that, I was able to play 3 sports and enjoy them, and we all had some pretty good success.
Well, it sounds like you're a great leader because leaders bring out the best in the whole team, right? So you played for the Reds. You played in the big leagues and the major leagues for 10 years.
11
years.
Yep.
So that's quite a career. You won 2 World Series with the Big Red Machine back in the 70s and then went on to play that 11 years, won a Golden Glove in 1980 with the Mets. And
I think the late bloomer thing worked out okay. The man won a Golden Glove and 2-time World Series champion. Keep going. Sorry.
Timing. It's all good timing.
No, I love this humility. But you were a dual athlete at the University of Kentucky. So not only did you play baseball here, but you play basketball, and we know what that means.
I wasn't as good as JP, I'll tell you that. And how I got to UK was really wild because one of my dear friends named Rick Derrickson was headed to UK. He ended up getting drafted by the Cleveland Indians. He went to play baseball, and he was a really good 2-star athlete. And I get a call from Coach Hall one day, and he just says, "Doug, this is Joe B. Hall, and we want you to come play basketball at the University of Kentucky." And I started laughing. I thought it was one of my friends.
You thought it was a prank.
I did. So I said, I'll play along. And I went, "Well, Coach, I've been waiting on this call. I just got off the phone with Coach Wooden, and I think I've narrowed it down to Kentucky now." And I hung up the phone. So the phone rings back a few minutes later because I was with my mom and dad's house, and I hear my dad say, "Hey, Joe, Doug did what?" "No, we'll be home. Come on over." And I looked at my dad and I said, "Was that really Coach Hall?" He said, "Yeah, he wouldn't know why you hung up on him."
This is unbelievable.
I said, "All right." So
I've
Coach
narrowed
Hall,
it down to 2. I got Wooden and you. We'll see you later, folks.
So Coach Hall and Dickie Parsons, a baseball coach, came over to the house and we sat down, and it was getting ready to start school. I was so good that I had 0 scholarship offers, none. And so I didn't know what I was really going to do. And so he said, "We'd like for you to be the point guard on that team." And you talking about a blessing. I mean, JP could tell you, just being around the program, going through all this stuff, it's so first class compared to what I'd been used to, playing with great athletes, getting to know so many wonderful people. And then it really helped me as I got older. I learned a lot of good lessons my freshman year that I carried over into my professional baseball career just by competing at a higher level. So you talking about a blessing. Oh, tremendous.
A high tide raises all ships. We love to say that. But you really came from a family that was athletic. Your dad played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and your mom played fast pitch softball. That's back when fast pitch softball, I can imagine.
Big.
I mean, that's amazing.
It was big. They were good too. And I would meet all of her teammates on down the road, and they knew as much about ball as I'd ever known, and they loved to compete. But they were pretty good. But fast pitch was, as I was growing up, the women and the men played a lot of fast pitch. Then all of a sudden it went to slow pitch. And I remember when I first got out of baseball, I started playing slow pitch, and my mom said, "I'm not watching that silly stuff."
And now fast pitch is back around, right?
Now it's good, and the girls are good, and there's some really good athletes
Really
playing.
good. So that's a little bit about your background, and we're going to dive into more of your musical talent as well. But JP,
boy.
do you have anything to add to that?
So I think we've told you, Doug, we kind of like to highlight on this podcast just some of Kentucky's best stories, both in sports and business. Someone that has ties to here, whether you're from here or you live here or you played here and you've done it at the highest level. And you check like every freaking box, man. Like you're from here, you played here, you won World Series titles. But, I think what's interesting, and I can't wait to jump into this because everyone that knows you says the same thing, and my limited exposure to you is you're just one of the kindest, most humble, genuine people. And, we'll get into this later, but you transitioned into doing things that are way bigger than anything you did in the game with the community work and the charity work. So I just can't wait to roll the tape back and pull out some of the moments that shaped Doug Flynn. So we're going to have some fun jumping in, but you want to rewind the tape and let's get rolling.
Yeah. So when you think about your childhood and adolescence and in relation to defining moments, what comes to mind for you?
My parents had great parents, 2 Christian people that were solid. I mean, church every Sunday, Wednesday night, you would be a part of Royal Ambassadors. But I never really understood some of the sacrifices that my parents were making for me until I got a little bit older. And I can remember my dad writing a check to the church when we couldn't really go out and get another pair of shoes. I'd say, "Dad, I'd take your school clothes off, put your play clothes on." "What, Dad, the guys at school, if they're wearing this." "Well, that's the guys at school, But I also remember him saying, "Have you ever been cold at night? No. Have you ever not had anything to eat?" I mean, I grew up eating Spam and fried bologna, and to this day still likes fried bologna. But, so Dad worked. His work ethic was what impressed me so much. He owned a restaurant in the early days up until I was about 11, and he would be gone all the time. I never really saw him much. As a matter of fact, my dad saw me play more as a pro than he did as an amateur.
Is that right?
Wow.
Because he was a basketball official, a football official. He umpired baseball. So when my season would start, his season would start. So he really not to get to see me play. And it was probably good because when I was a freshman, he came over to watch me play basketball one time, and one of the referees didn't show up. So Dad was on his way to referee another game, but he was going to watch me play the first half. So when the other official didn't show up, they said, "Bobby, can you referee the first half?" First quarter, I had 4 fouls.
Come on, Pops. What we doing?
The games, he goes on the other way. That night, we get home, Mom's fixing dinner, right? She brings my plate and puts it down. She grabs her plate, sits down. doesn't do anything for Dad. Dad says, well, honey, I'm hungry too. She said, it's on the stove. And he goes over, gets his food, sits down, and he looks at us, and he went, are you mad about those 4 fouls I called on you? And I went, yeah, I am. I said, Dad, that guy was holding me the whole night. He wouldn't let me go. You never called one foul on him.
Yes.
And then he looked right at me, dead in the eye, and he says, well, son, I wasn't trying to teach him anything. I got no comeback from that.
Mic
Gosh, mic drop, yeah. And I thought, wow, he was making a point. You need to guard with your feet, not with your hands.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of lessons that I'd learned most of my life going up when he watched me play. Son, what about that ball that was hit to your left? You didn't get a real good jump, did you? Oh, I thought I did, Dad. He went, well, your foot was a little late getting down. And because of that, you were late getting. Oh, okay. Because he was so good.
And he played professionally.
Played professionally 1 year with the Brooklyn Dodgers. They were in Hazard, Kentucky,
Oh, wow.
which was a Class D league for the Dodgers. And he
Okay.
played with Johnny Padres, who went on and had a great major league career. Hit 345. He could hit. I couldn't.
wow.
I took after Mom.
Yeah.
But Dad could really hit. And so they wanted him to come back the next year. And Mom got pregnant with me. And she'd already had 3 or 4 miscarriages. So they didn't want to stay in Hazard. So they came back to Lexington to the hospitals here when I was born. So basically, that ended his career. He said they wanted him to go back to Hazard. He said, I hit 345. What more can I do? But they were trying, at those times, the minor leagues were really trying to win championships.
Yes.
And it really got the community. And he just said, no. So he came back here and started playing fast pitch softball.
They play, yeah.
Yeah, but he
did
was
he-
so influential. And Mom, too.
I always find it interesting when you have parents that have done a lot athletically and they have kids of how much are they pushing, how much are they encouraging versus letting someone live their own and do their own. How did that fall for him? Was he a big pusher of you to?
He wasn't a pusher, but he could be critical sometimes because it was almost like I could have done a little bit better.
Yeah.
If I scored 15, I should have scored 18.
He kept raising the bar for
He kept
you.
raising the bar, which when I look back now, I'm glad, I'm thankful for it. Didn't understand it then.
Yeah.
Mom was just the opposite. Mom would take me out in the backyard and we'd work on things, throwing. I'd say, Mom, I'm having trouble doing this. And so she could throw right with me. Well, I was 12, but, my arms get a little stronger. And I think, all right, Mom, just be careful. I don't want to hurt you. And she'd go, okay. So I said, now I'm going to throw it a little bit harder. And I'd throw it and she'd go, "Boom."
Yeah.
All right, now let me know when you're going to throw one hard. And I went, just throw it back nice and easy. So she was a good player, but she was such an encourager.
Yeah.
I mean, she was always, I remember when I wanted to play football, she said, are you sure you want to play? No, ma'am, I'm not. Well, why are you going to play? Well, Coach Walton came to me and said, if I went out for summer practice, I'd get a leather jacket, and chicks like leather jackets. So I'm going to play football. That's a true story.
That's right.
So I said, all right. So I played, and, I wasn't very good as a quarterback, but I handed it off to a guy named Frank LeMaster, who went on and played 10 years in the NFL. He was our fullback. And Harry Sykes was the other quarterback. And he was, there were so many good people. Coach Dan Haley. I was so blessed growing up, not just my parents, my coaches with Bob Barlow and Dan Haley and Coach Williams with baseball and all the other guys that I had. Every one of them, and this is something that I tell young kids today, you will remember in some capacity, and I tell coaches this, every single coach you've ever had, and it'll either be for good or for bad.
No doubt.
So coaches, and you know that, JP.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So these coaches, the ones I had that were so concerned, my football coach got me to Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah.
And here's how he did it. Boys, there's an FCA meeting tonight. It's not mandatory. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just invite
Know
the
what that
invitation, right? I mean,
So-
coaches really do form your life for
They
better
do.
or for worse. And you think about it, you spend so much time with these athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and you're forming and developing them, hopefully not just as athletes, but as people,
Oh, they were, and all of them were like that. They were good, just good people. And Coach Barlow, who I loved, he came over my senior year in basketball. The year before, we were 6-18 or something like that. And then the next year, my senior year, we went 23-6, 1 point from the state tournament. And he made us feel like that we could win.
Yes.
He said, we'd play against all these. He said, they're not any better than you guys. and he put this little matchup zone together, and we competed. And I think that's what I learned at an early age the most, was how to compete and not to be afraid to compete.
Yeah.
And I still like it. It's just not quite as there. Now it's either golf with old people or fishing.
It changes, but you still have the competition in
Oh
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We always talk about, look, you don't get to pick your parents. It's almost like the lottery of life, right? If it sounds like you had two great parents.
Wonderful.
What do you think are the top lesson or two they taught you before you left out to go to UK when you were still in the home there?
Respect and discipline, to me, was what I learned from them. And great story. I go to pick up my mom. She's been passed away for 3 years, probably right before we had to move them into Sarah Christian Village. And so I go over to her house to pick her up. The garage door's open, so I just sit there in the car and just kind of boop, boop, hit the horn. She comes walking out. She comes over to the car door and stands there, and she's waiting for me to get out and come over there and open up the door for her, which I always do. So I watched her for a minute, and she didn't move. So I put the car in reverse. I backed out. She's still standing there. I went around the block a couple of times, came back. She's still standing there. Pulled the car up beside her, got out, went over, let her in the car. Not a word was said.
How about that?
It's just that's what I taught you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. And even now, I still say ma'am a lot to a lot of people. I'm not a ma'am. Oh well, you look like a ma'am to me. I'm sorry. It's not a compliment like it used to be. Man,
It's a respect thing.
it's a respect. That's what I think is wrong totally with all the sports today, is a lack of respect
Right.
for not only the game but also for the people that came before you.
Yeah.
And it's that way I know it is in baseball. I mean, we just did our 50-year reunion for the Big Red Machine last year. This year they're not doing anything. But we went up on the field and they drove us around. Not one player. No, I take that back because I got to give him some props. Colin Calgill, University of Kentucky player who's coaching with the Reds. He's the only one that came over to say anything to any of the 23 former Big Red Machine players.
That's unbelievable. I think it not only goes to sports, but it goes to just life in general and the culture. And it's really a parenting problem if we're not raising
agree.
kids to be respectful. I'm a big ma'am and sir. Our kids are going to ma'am and sir you. But it sounds like you really had a great balance. Like you said, your dad was maybe harder on you all, and your mom was the encourager. And I think it's so beautiful to see the complementarian of the family, right? Of that parental unit. And like, you don't realize the gift that your parents are until you're a little bit older.
True.
But thinking about the fact that your dad played ball and your mom played ball, was it kind of always in your DNA that baseball was going to be part of you?
And relatives. My mom's family, the Richies, dad's the Flynns, they all played ball.
Everybody played baseball.
And they were all pretty good. They all played locally, and everybody knew them locally. And they didn't. Of course, back in those days, you didn't have a lot of guys going professional around here.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's the only thing I've known, because I was either going to a ballpark. I remember going to watch Dad play one time when I was real young, and the memory still sticks in my hand. I ended up running back to the car and cutting my hand. I fell down, hit on a glass bottle that was open, and it cut. I had 32 stitches, and they said I was a fraction of an inch from losing all use in this hand. But I remember but that's not why I remember it. I remember it because Dad was out there playing against all these young guys. And I asked Mom, says, what's Dad doing playing with these kids? Well, they were all college kids, and Dad was only 30.
Yes.
But I thought, he's so old playing with them. And shoot, he was right in his prime.
Yes.
And he was dominating. He was a leadoff hitter. He could play, and he had no fear. He was so much, I didn't take his bravado. I took Mom's humility. Dad was cocky, talk smack.
Yeah.
And I just never felt comfortable doing that,
Yeah. Didn't he win a bunch of golf?
Oh, he
stuff
won
too
the
when he came
seniors thing around here so many years. He was a state high jump. He was state pole vault. I remember watching him in the backyard chase rabbits. People say that's ridiculous. All right. Hurdle fences. He'd go and hurdle fences after rabbits in the backyard. And I'm thinking, Mom, Dad's...
That man's built different. He's
He
different.
is.
Yeah.
But he was built different. He could... Anything he did, he averaged 200 bowling. He was a good golfer.
Yeah.
He was one of the best fishermen I ever saw. He'd take us down the lake. It's just, Everything came natural. And he was only 5'8" and 150 pounds.
We interviewed Chad Pennington a couple episodes ago, and he was talking about Randy Moss being the same way. He's like, whether he's bass fishing or playing ping pong or catching a he's like, he just has a gift. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's a real shame you weren't blessed with any ability or had any family that could do anything, Doug. You know, I don't know how you turned out like you did.
All right, let me give you a really good story about family. So I bring my mom, my aunt, and their first cousin to New York.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of upbringing. So we're playing a doubleheader in New York, and I go 1 for 8 and strike out a couple times. I'd play really bad. Well, the flight, I'm going to fly back to Lexington with them because that was on a Sunday. We're off Monday, and then we play in Cincinnati. So we get on the flight. I'm sitting, the three of them are sitting right behind me, and I look back at them, and they're all laid back like that. And I said, what are y'all doing? Look so tired. Y'all haven't done anything. And in unison, they said, and neither of you.
You know, it's good to have some family keep you grounded a
Oh,
little bit.
man. And they were so right. And that's kind of what I got from them all the time. But they would show up, they would drive distances, and they just love. I had so much love in my family from relatives, and even to this day.
So did they, when you went to Kentucky, I mean, obviously you came on a dual scholarship to play baseball and basketball. At that time, Kentucky had a freshman team and a varsity team. And you were saying that when you were a freshman, Dan Issel and Pratt were seniors, right? And so Joby Hall coached the freshman team, and Rupp had. What was Rupp like? Is there a story that really captured who he was that sticks out?
He didn't say a whole lot, you know, to us. I remember the first scrimmage against the varsity. I hit a couple of shots. They were working on a zone, and I hit a couple of shots. And I was here, all of a sudden the whistle blows, and here comes Coach Rupp right towards me. And I'm thinking, oh, shoot. He says, Joe, who is this fella? Is he that kid from Lafayette? Well, Rick Derrickson was from Lafayette, and Rick was supposed to be there, but he signed to go play with Cleveland. And he says, no, Coach, that's Doug Flynn. Well, my dad's brother, who was a manager for UK years ago, his name was Chigger. Okay. So it's my uncle. He says, no, Coach, that's Doug Flynn. He says, is that Chigger's boy? and he says, no, that's Bobby's boy. And he went, well, I'll be. That was my first talk with Coach Rupp.
He's got off to a great start here.
Yeah. But he was,
boy.
but so now after I leave the university and we win the first World Series, Dad said, Coach Rupp called the house. And he says, Bobby, I just want you to know I'm going to send you a bill for the roof replacement. Because when those boys won, I jumped so high that my head did some damage on my roof. And it was kind of like, because I left UK under some weird circumstances, which I've never really talked about, but it turned out to be a blessing how it shaped kind of the rest of my life.
Well, let's talk about the shift, right? So, you know, you're playing basketball as a freshman, and then, you know, MK, we were talking about, like, there was a tryout. Talk about how this even began to evolve for you.
And do they even do that anymore? Do they even do tryouts?
Yeah,
now?
some, but you know, with all the with all the videos and social media, you really don't have to do them because if they hear about a kid, there's usually a video of him somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But in those days, there wasn't. So I'm on the baseball team. I got 9 at-bats as a freshman, and basically I was told later that just didn't look like it's going to work out. So I go down to a junior college. Coach Hall helps me get into a junior college, and it looked like I was going to get to play basketball there. But it turned out I went through all the fall practices and right up to game time, played the first game, and then they said, you can't play here because you're ineligible to play here. And I went, well, this is great. So, I mean, I just got to be a student? Yeah. So I just started going to the classes. I took 18 hours in each semester, and then I took 9 hours in summer school. So I said, all right, I got to find something to do. Well, in the meantime, I'd started to grow a little bit, started to mature a little bit.
Here comes the late
So you're
bloomer.
growing in
Here comes the
college.
late bloomer,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I'm on an independent basketball team, and we're playing in the Jenny Wiley something they used to have, and we're playing against Lindsey Wilson or something, and we got a little intramural team against their college team, and I get 24 the first half, and all of a sudden I start, you know, I might have a shot at this, but I don't know. I kind of like baseball too. So some friends one day, I take them to Richmond because I'm the designated driver going to Richmond.
Yes.
I got a 61 Corvair, where the engine is in the back. And I've got me, another guy, and three, and we go to see the group Exile, who were the Exiles at the time, in Richmond. So we're driving home, and these guys are feeling pretty good. Well, since I'm the designated driver, we get pulled over, and the policeman says, "You been drinking?" I went, "No, sir." He said, "Are those boys?" And I went, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
He started laughing. He looked at me, and he says, "You seem okay." I said, "I'm fine. I'm fine." I said, "I didn't have anything." So we get home. All right, the next morning, 8 o'clock, there's a banging on my door. And I was staying in a little apartment. "Doug, we're going to go try out for the Reds." All right. Anybody got a glove or shoes? One of the gloves named Tim Williams. I borrowed his glove and his shoes.
You didn't even have your own gloves or shoes?
No, my stuff was all in Lexington.
Right.
And so we go out there. I got a pair of cutoffs on, a tank top, I think a headband. I was just, it's a lark.
Yes.
Let's go. Why not?
Yes.
So I take a few ground balls at shortstop. I run the 60-yard dash, take a few swings, and a scout comes up and he says, "You're not real serious about this, are you?" And I went, "No, I'm not." He said, "Well, what if I thought I saw some talent in you?" And I'd say, "Look, you be the only one," because nobody said that in a while.
Yes.
So he said, "Well, I got another tryout camp in Frankfurt." So I went to Frankfurt, Kentucky, basically did the same thing. They didn't say a word. I went, "All right, it's worth it." Yeah. About a week or two goes by, and I get a call, "Doug, we'd like for you to come to Riverfront Stadium to try out with 90 guys from 3 or 4 different states." I said, "All right." So you go up and you take
that
about
time, did you really think had it entered your mind this actually could happen at that point? You wouldn't really entertaining it, man.
Not
just like, let's just go through the thing.
No,
right?
and one of the reasons too is because I had signed to go to a college to play basketball down in Tennessee, a little small college. And Doug Hines, who was a basketball coach at Somerset, and he had gone down there, and they were a pretty good NAIA team. And I'd gone down that summer and scrimmaged with them, and it looked like there was a good chance I could just walk right in and play the next year. So
that's what you were focused on.
That's what I was focused on, yeah.
And but this is where you having no fear really comes in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I thought and it was kind of fun because I'm going, all right, 90 guys from 4 states, let's go see what they got.
Sure.
So I go out and I run the 60. I take about 5 swings. I take some ground balls at short, and now I'm thinking, I don't see anybody around here that looks that much better than me.
Yeah.
Not a word. About 2 weeks go by, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to go on to college. I'm ready to go to college. Yeah. I get a call from a scout, Chet Montgomery, and he says, I want to come to Lexington and see you one more time. So Chet and a couple of guys came. They threw me batting practice. They hit me some ground balls. Is at Southland Park on the old softball field. When it was over with, Chet Montgomery says, "What would it take for you to be a professional baseball player?" And I went, "Coke and a hot dog." So Chet
22-ounce Coke.
Chet says, "We can give you the Coke." Yeah. So I signed for, he said, "How about $2,500? And I went, "Seriously?" And he went, "Yeah." So I said, "All right," I was 20. And I said, all right, so they send me to rookie league to start off with, and I'm the oldest guy there.
Yeah.
I'm about to turn 21, and all these kids, 15, 16-year-old kids they've signed from Latin countries are there. Yeah. And that's how it basically got started.
That's incredible.
Oh, it is. I know.
It really is.
And I love those guys from Somerset, too. And they all, as soon as I signed a contract, they're all going, "Hey, where's my cut?" I went, "There ain't a whole lot to share with $2,500. All right, come on."
But that tryout in Somerset really began the journey of your entrance into the
That was
big
it.
leagues. And then how long did it take
And
you?
Chet Montgomery, who saw something, and years later, I asked him and some other coach, I said, "Chet, what was it you saw that stood out or that you took a chance on me?" He said, "Doug, you were doing stuff defensively that you can't teach. It was just natural."
It was that foot skill that your dad
It wasn't just a foot skill. It was with my hands, because I had learned watching. My dad taught me 3 ways to turn a double play, and then now I had to perfect it. And so I had been in the gym throwing a ball up against a wall, trying to figure out turning a double play. Where's my glove angle have to be? How far out's my arm got to be? Do I need to catch it on this side of my body or that side? What's going to give me the best advantage to get rid of it? And so when I started developing that a little bit, then Chet Montgomery saw that.
So that in Somerset really was a defining moment. And once you got to the rookie, how long did it take you to move up to the Reds?
Well, it took 3 years altogether. But I started out in rookie ball as a shortstop, and after 2 weeks, I had a manager named Dave Pavlicek, and he said, "Can you play third base?" I said, "Sure." I played it in high school. Lie. He said the third baseman in Class A ball has got hurt, and Class A, which is a step up from rookie, needs somebody to play third. And I said, "Sure, I'm the guy." They send me up there. My manager's a guy named Russ Nixon. First game I'm playing, puts me at third, and he's, "Doug, no, move it, Doug, back up, Doug." The inning's over with, and he's waiting for me to hit the dugout step. And I walked over, and he went, "You never played a game of third in your life, have you?" I went, "Nope." "Why would you lie and tell people you played third?" I said, "Because it was a chance to go from rookie ball to," I said, "if you needed a catcher, I'd have been the man. I'd have been a catcher."
That's right.
And Russ liked me. And that year I played short, second, and third until time we came to the playoffs. And it had 3 number 1 draft choices in front of me. But when we came to the playoffs that year, Russ played me instead over one of the number 1 draft choices to play defense. So he was in my corner, but I didn't hit well because it was all new and fast. This game gets so fast as you start going up the ladder. And so then the next year I go to spring training and looks, all right, I'll probably be back at Class A again. 2 weeks before we broke camp, they moved me to Double-A ball, strictly because of my defense. And so when I got to Double-A ball, then I got an MVP and an all-star team, and things started, making sense and slowing down a little bit. And then the next year I went to Triple-A ball in Indianapolis and got team MVP and didn't get called up. They usually call a lot of guys up. But then, so going to spring training in 1975, I got invited to Major League Camp. That's a big deal. I was on the 40-man roster. And I had arguably the best spring that anybody's ever had at spring training. I tied a record for hits and just played out of my mind.
So it had to, at that point, become a little more real.
It's real right now.
Yeah.
When I got to spring training and started getting base hits off of major league guys,
Yes.
and then started catching balls that they're hitting, I'm thinking, then it started getting real.
And you knew defense was always your ticket, right? I think of the NBA today, and it's changed so much over the years. But to make it today, I mean, if you're not an NBA All-Star, you've got to do something. Have one specialty that is a little better than somebody else. And that might be defending a pick and roll and making a straight 18-foot jumper. That might be the best rebounder on the court. Or, hey, look, this guy doesn't miss if he's going to make 7 out of 10 if he's open. Like, did you know defense was really your ticket the entire time?
Yeah, I did. Because I never ever hit good. My whole little league, pony league, high school, I wasn't a real good hitter. Yeah. Today the kids are so mechanically better than we were. They're bigger and stronger, but mechanically they're a lot better.
Well, they start with their private coaches when they're 3 years old.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, and we did. Back in the day when we played, if you're not hitting good, then get somebody else in there that can.
Yeah, and you're playing.
Teach
pickup
me what to
games
do
in the backyard, right? You're going down and just playing from. But I mean, I remember playing ball with my brothers till all day long.
Oh, we
Come
did
in
that
at dinner,
too. Yeah,
dirt ball.
And the best, growing up, we played on our street. So,
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Johnson's Mira's first base.
Yes.
And the best player on our team was Ruth Ann White on our street. She's the preacher's daughter. She's the best player on there. And she used to pick me on her team when nobody else would pick me.
There you go.
So I love you, Ruth Ann.
She could see it in you, right?
Yeah,
but,
she was.
I think kids are missing something today of everything's so organized and
no.
everything's such a production. But there's so much that happens in your life as a kid when you just go out and create.
You make up games.
Yes.
We make up and kept stats.
Yes.
We'd play wiffle ball games. We'd play
Yes.
tennis ball games. We'd cut out in the fields our little thing, have home run fences. We collected baseball cards.
Yeah.
You did all that stuff to entertain yourself. All the things we did, they do on a computer now.
And they're and even parents, we create it for them, right? We have to make up the game and have to. So I really lean into giving that freedom to, because you use your brain in a whole different way.
Well, if I ever have any kids, I'm coming to you for advice.
She would be the go-to.
Well, Doug, I grew up with 5 brothers, so I grew up playing all the sports, right?
Speaking of kind of mental games with kids, so I've got a 4-year-old, and he's pretty funny. But
he's
we were playing
hilarious.
Legos the other night, and he goes, "Dad, just so you know, I'm not going to use my imagination on this." I'm like, what are you going to do? He's like, well, I'm just not going to use my imagination. I'm going to just pick them up and put them where I think they should go. I'm like, well, buddy, it's okay to use your imagination. For some reason, he thought if I had to lean on my imagination, that's
Wonder
a
if he
negative.
even knows what that means.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
We always had somebody that we looked up to, whether it were your parents or, I watched TV, so I'd watch Nellie Fox and Louis Aparicio play. Here's an interesting story about knowing a little bit about the game you're playing in the history. I watched Frank Robinson and Vada Pinson, and that kind of was why I was a Reds fan. So I was asked to go over to say a few words to the UK baseball team recently. So Coach Ben Jones introduced me, and he says, Doug was a member of the Big Red Machine, and I see this.
They didn't know what that was.
None.
Wow.
Not one player had ever heard of the Big Red Machine.
Unbelievable. And these are baseball kids.
These are baseball kids. And then after it was over with, one of the kids came up to him and he says, Mr. Flynn, what years did you play? And I told him, and he said, you may have played against my grandfather. And I did. His grandfather was Mike Tyson, was a little infielder that played with the Cubs and the Cardinals. And I went, yeah, I remember him well. And he actually came from St. Louis to a game this year, and I got to go down and talk to him some. But I'm thinking, if you know anything about the game, the history, did you keep up with it when you were playing? Did you know a little bit about who was at Kentucky or who was the good players in college ball?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. And speaking of baseball, like I grew up as a Reds fan. I was the Eric Davis, Sabo,
Barry Larkin.
The 90 team.
Oh, yeah.
But like I played growing up till about 6th grade, and I realized my ticket was going to be something else, and so, I lost interest in the game after the strike.
Yeah, a lot of people
and I
did.
never
Was
really
it 94
never
strike?
really returned. And I'm just curious, like, where do you think that when you played, it was America's game? Everybody wanted to play, right? It was the height of everything to play in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Where do you think the game is today?
I think the game's in trouble today. I really do. But here's one of the reasons for the 70s. You didn't have as many multi-year contracts, right? You had salaries that were pretty much the same as what the average person, like my first year, my major league salary as a rookie in 1975 was $16,500. The next year, the minimum goes to 19, so the Reds give me the minimum again.
Yes.
The next year, because they had control of me for 6 years because I didn't have an agent. Next year, the minimum went to 23. I went in and asked for 25, and they said, go home or take 23.
Yes.
So they used to control that. The average salary when I got out my last year in 86 was about 280 something thousand. Today it's almost 5 million.
Wow.
So, but what's the thing that's ruining the game, I think, is we're changing history to baseball because of all the new rules. How many games back in the 60s, 50s, 70s would have been changed had the replay system been in there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
World Series, all kinds of stuff. Now you can, and I hear, well, the umpires are so bad, get better umpires. Yeah. It's pretty simple. Yeah. So now they've got this little block that they're using. So you watch on TV and you see that little block that is supposed to be the strike zone. Now to me, there's absolutely no way in the world you can get that strike zone to be perfect for every single hitter. Aaron Judge is 6'8", Jose Altuve's 5'6".
Right.
You're going to say you can get that exactly right for those two guys, but I really don't think it's about that. I think it's about gambling. I think because they gamble $1 million on every pitch thrown this year, that little block right there, if it's in that block, it's a strike. If it's out of that block, it's a ball. And I think that's more for the gamblers than it is to help baseball. I don't like all the replays. I don't like the fact that managers don't go out on the field now and argue stuff. I don't like that they're taking the human element out of the game. To me, if you expect the umpires to make 100% right on all the calls, but you don't expect me as a player to field 1,000 or to hit 1,000, why do you expect them to have to umpire 1,000?
Sure. Yeah. Watching Lou Piniella come out of the dugout was must-see TV, right?
That was
so
and Earl
fun.
Weaver and all those Billy Martin.
Oh, my
those
goodness.
guys were showmen.
Yes.
You might not have heard them as much. So
just like we talked about with kids growing up, everything is so manufactured, right? The human element. I love that you talk about that because that's a missing thing, and it's what makes you human is what is interesting and relatable, and yeah, I see that.
Don't make us little robots during the game too. You know, I mean, this is the way you're supposed to act, and I think too, what has changed all the sports is it used to be policed on the field or on the floor. If in the NBA. I think when Magic and Bird and those guys, from the stories that I hear, if a guy was disrespecting the game, he didn't care which team you were on, you were going to say something to him.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the way baseball was too. I remember one time playing the Pirates, and I hit just a little thing over shortstop, and it hit the AstroTurf, and I started to go to second, and I didn't. So I came back, and Willie Stargell was playing first base, and he starts backing up, and he just backs up right on top of me. And I kind of looked at him, I said, "What's up?" He went, "Oh, I thought you should have been on second." I get it.
Yes.
I get it. If you're going to play, Don Sutton was pitching one time, and he used to he'd cut the ball a little bit, so he'd throw it, and the ball would come at you, and it was like a cutter, but he was helping it a little bit. And so I get up, and the first time up, I grounded out to shortstop, and second time up, I would hit it to right field like he's supposed to. And then going he runs by me off the mound as he's going in. He went, "Attaboy, don't try to pull that pitch." I mean, play the game.
Yeah.
Play the game.
And I was lucky to come up in the 70s with some guys that absolutely were the smartest baseball people.
Let's talk about
I'd ever been
that.
around.
Like, were there a veteran or two that you felt like you learned the most from? You know, one thing Chet Pennington said a couple episodes ago was Herm Edwards, when he would talk to the team, he said, "Be a pro. Just be a pro."
Yeah.
What did excellence, like that team, the Big Red Machine, what did excellence look like in that clubhouse? And who were the guys that you really leaned on?
We had
looked up to?
four leaders. You had Johnny Bench,
Yep.
Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, and Tony Perez. And which was kind of cool because Bench would be like Pete and Johnny were sort of the white guys would go talk to him, if you would say. Now, there was no racial issues at all, but you felt comfortable. Joe Morgan, all the brothers would go talk to them, and the Latin guys would go talk to Tony if you had any questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they were the leaders, and the four of them would sit in an area where they could talk with each other, and they would rip the fire out of each other. They wouldn't get on the rest of us, but they would burn each other. And if you tried to get in a conversation, then the four of them would turn on you.
Is that right?
But they would tell you
This
about.
is like the parents are talking here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
kids'
Yeah.
table.
You haven't earned the right to be in this conversation.
Yes. Interesting.
And that's the way it was. But you knew your place. And I think because we'd all grown up, like the extra guys on our team, you got Daryl Cheney and me and Bill Plummer and Merv Rettman, guys that weren't going to be regular players. We knew what our place was.
You knew your role.
We knew our role. And we weren't, as I got to some other teams that weren't that good, there was a lot of cutthroat stuff going on. But they knew that. Plus, they knew how to play the game. You didn't have to tell them with a man on second, nobody out, to move the runner, hit the ball in right field.
Right.
You didn't have to tell them if the guy in front of you walked on 4 pitches, you might want to take the first pitch. You didn't have to tell them those kind of things. You don't make the first and third out at third base. These guys were so smart that you just sit there and watched them. And when the game started, they were baseball.
Yes.
It was all baseball. It wasn't what we're doing after the game. It was baseball.
focused.
Yeah. I remember Pete taught me so much, so he was just Pete and Johnny and I today are really good friends. We talk all the time, but Pete would my first at bat in the big leagues was the second game of the year, and I'm sitting there minding my own business. Now, I just played every game in spring training. So we're playing the Dodgers, and I hear Sparky say, "Doug, get a bat." So I walked down there. He said, "When Geronimo gets on base, you bunt him over." It was a 1-1 ball game. I said, "All right." So Pete, I'm bunting for the pitcher, so Pete's the leadoff hitter. So he walks out to the on-deck circle with me, and he says, "You know this guy pitching?" I went, "Pete, it's my first game in the big league. How do I don't know this guy pitching?" And he starts laughing. He said, "Well, it's Mike Marshall." He said, "Last year he was a relief pitcher of the year." I went, "Thanks for that confidence builder." And
This is supposed to be a pep talk.
yeah, so he says, "All right, look, he's got a really good screwball, and he'll probably throw it to you because it's a hard pitch to bunt. So you focus and bunt it to Steve Garvey." And I said, "All right." So I put a little pine tar on, and he says, "You nervous?" And I went, "Yeah, I am." He said, "All you got to do is bunt." That was his mindset. All you got is bunt.
No big deal.
So I get up, and the first pitch by Mike Marshall's a fastball right down the middle of the plate. And I bunt it foul. And I look over at Pete, and he goes, well, so I'm thinking, where's that screwball?
Yes.
The next pitch, I'm thinking, he saw me, he kind of looked bad at that. He'll probably try to throw me one a little bit more inside. So he did. He threw it inside, and I kind of stepped back and bunted it to Garvey. Runner went over. They end up walking Pete. We get a base hit, win the game 2-1.
Yep.
The most important at bat I had in the big leagues.
Was your first bat?
Because if I don't get that bunt down, Sparky is going to say, well, he can't.
He gonna lose.
Can't help us.
Trust
So
in you right
we'll send him
away,
back
right?
down.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pete Rose, I hear he introduced you to your wife, and that's quite a story. I hear
It's a story.
a defining moment, if you will.
Yeah, his
Tell us
birthday
about
was
that.
yesterday, actually.
Pete
today.
Rose?
Yeah, his birthday is April 14th. And he was, I love Pete. I really did. I mean, he's, with all this stuff, he was so good to me and my family. He did a couple of things. The most important, introducing me to my wife. He and his wife did. Actually, we were going to go. You want to hear the story?
Yes, I
Well,
want to
right
hear
here
the
to
story.
So we,
About meeting Olga.
we were going to go to dinner after the game. He's with the Phillies, and I was with the Mets, and we're going to go to dinner afterwards. So I said, all right. I said, tell Carol, the girl he was dating, who became his second wife. I said, tell Carol to bring a friend if she wants, because he and I would sit literally and just talk baseball, and Carol would just sort of sit there.
Bored.
Yes.
Yeah. So he said, all right. So that night I get on first base, and Pete says, hey, I got good news and bad news. And I said,
Well, during the game, right?
oh, yeah. Meanwhile, they're throwing a pitch to home, and I'm taking a lead. I said, well, what's the bad news? He said, the girl coming tonight's engaged. And I went, I don't care. What's that got to do with anything? I'd take another. So they throw a pitch. Now I get the hit and run. I said, Pete, I got the hit and run. I got to go on this pitch. What's the good news? And as I'm leaving the second base, he said, she looks good. So that night we go out, and I meet Olga Edis Muñiz. And it
And
was,
she was engaged at this time.
well, she'd been dating a guy, but it was kind of over.
Yeah.
It was over. Her mom had prayed that she would leave that guy. And and I'd been praying to meet a Christian woman. And this night, when I saw her for the first time, I thought this is going to be the one.
Yeah.
I really did.
It was-
She didn't,
Unbelievable.
Yes.
but I did.
Love at first sight.
Has she turned you into an Eagles fan? Because she was a Philadelphia Eagles cheerleader.
Yes, she was. And no, she has not. However, I got no bad. I pull for the Bengals if they're out of it. They're okay. But she'll wear all of her little stuff when they're playing, and when they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, she, oh. But I went to a game with her one night. We were going to meet Pete and Carol at an Eagles game, and I walked through the parking lot with her. Well, her picture happened to be in the
program.
calendar.
Okay.
They did a calendar, and she was the only cheerleader in the calendar. The rest of it was players. Well, she was very recognizable. So I'm walking through the parking lot. I've never been abused so bad in all my life by people. They all knew her. And the stuff I was hearing, she said, just don't say a word. And we'd walk in, and we went to the game, and I went, I don't know if I go through this too much. I'm going to marry you. So we dated for a little bit, 8 months, I think.
From that night on.
Yeah. We dated 8 months, and then we got married, and now 44 years later.
Unbelievable. So
It is.
Pete Rose introduced you, tells you about her while you're in the game on first base.
Yeah, and he was right. She did look good.
I got a question on,
Well, hold on. Let me say
Yeah,
this.
yes,
She still looks good.
There you go.
There we go. There we go. I have two questions. First, if there's a kid from Kentucky that's dreaming big dreams, maybe even more specific, baseball, wanted to do that one day, because this is a huge baseball town. I mean, youth baseball is massive here.
Yep.
It's taken really, really seriously. What would you hope they know about what it really takes to make it at that level?
There's you can't, and you know this, JP, because you've been around what it takes to get to the highest level. You can't fake it. You can't say I'm the best here and I'm always going to be the best, and I tell folks when I talk to them, your kid might be the best in Lexington, but when you start moving up the ladder, you're playing against the best in every town.
Yes.
And it just keeps getting better, and the game gets faster. Don't quit working at it.
Yeah.
Never quit working at your game. And I'm so blessed that, like, before I signed, I was playing doubleheader baseball on Sundays and 3 nights a week playing softball. So the rumors got out that I signed a contract out of a softball team. Not totally untrue.
Yes.
But I was playing, and I just kept playing. And as you play, you learn how to get better. And then watch others who are better than you and play with others. I'm not a big fan 9s playing against 9s, 10s against 10s, 11. I'm glad that I got a chance to play as an 8-year-old with 12-year-olds.
No doubt.
Did I get my brains beat out of it? Yep.
No doubt.
But I got better.
No doubt.
So I always like playing up in talent and in age because I seem to learn something. And don't be afraid to experiment and make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no telling how many mistakes I made trying to perfect doing something. And I win a Gold Glove in 1980. 1981, Chuck Cottier comes up to me, who's my coach. Now I've already got 6 years in the big leagues, 7 years in the big leagues
This is with the Mets.
with the Mets. And Chuck comes over and he says, "Can I say something to you?" And I went, "Anytime you want." He said, "You're getting lazy with your feet." I went, "Okay." He said, "Yeah, you're relying on your arm too much." He said, "Keep your foot." And he was right, because I got to the point where I was turning a double play so easy, I just boom, throw it, and I wasn't using my legs or my feet.
sloppy.
And he said, first, you're going to get hurt if you don't get out of the way. Second, you don't get as much on your throw. And then you learn those things. I mean, I watch the UK games, and there's some things I see, and I go, you know, I wish and Nick gives me pretty much free territory to say, if I see a guy that's doing something, you know, I'll text him and say, you know, you may want suggesting it.
Sure.
But I also think the other thing is to have some accountability. Have somebody with you that is willing to tell you the truth. Yeah. For instance, you come back and you've just struck out on a pitch and you're going, "Man, that pitch was low. It may not have been." Have somebody that'll say, "Doug, that's a good pitch." You know,
Challenge you.
I don't know why I didn't get that ball. I got a good jump. "Doug, you didn't get a good jump on that ball." Or, you know, you need some accountability, somebody that loves you and is not afraid to tell you the truth.
Sure.
And that's why I'm so big on accountability groups or accountability partners now, is because I want
Just
somebody.
in life.
Just in life, especially in life, yeah. And everybody says, "Well, what's accountability?" I say, "Well, it's pretty simple. It's somebody that knows you but loves you anyway."
That's a great
And I've got, and I know you surround yourself with people like that too. I just think we all have to, because there's times, I mean, Satan is really trying to screw us up big time. I mean, there's thoughts that you have that you just go, "Where'd that come from?"
Yes.
Or things that you see, or things that you hear, or things that you watch. And so I think for young people there, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Get some accountability around you and keep playing the game, but playing the game right.
Yeah.
Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And also, you're not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
you're
I
human.
think that's so, you know, I think about basketball growing up, and if you were to ask me, it's like, hey, what's the one thing, if you could only pick one drill to get better at basketball, and you were a kid, I'd say, go play one-on-one with a kid that's about 3 years older than you, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, he will bust your head, and you will grind, and you will fight, but you'll figure out how to play the game, of, like, playing up with people that are better than you. Yeah. I couldn't agree more on the accountability piece.
Hey, so I'm with my freshman year. I'm playing against older guys, right? I'm 5'8", 147 pounds or something. And I'm playing against Scotty Basler, John Adams, Jim LeMaster. These are all guys that played at Kentucky. Now they're lawyers, dental school, whatever. And we're playing, and Scotty Basler is playing. Former mayor.
Yes.
Scotty's, 6'1", 6'2", I'm 5'8". And he's holding me, and he's shoving me, and he's beating me. I'm going to get him.
Yeah.
So he comes to set this pick, and I go through, and I go, bam, and I hit him with an elbow. And I think, and he just passed me. He said, attaboy, play a little more aggressive. Attababy. He was trying to teach me stuff.
Yes, that's right.
And I'll never forget that from here. Dan Issel taught me one time about selfishness in playing the game. We were playing at LSU. When we played them in Kentucky, I was like 1 for 6 and 2 for 4 at the free throw line. It wasn't very good. We go down to LSU. We start the game off. I got 9 of our first 11. This is fun.
Yeah.
And the guy that guarded me in Lexington, he was saying stuff to me like, I think it's great that they're letting jockeys play the games these days.
He had a little bit of your dad in him.
He had a lot of my dad in him. But so we go back down there, and I start off good. And now he comes down the floor, and I take it away from him. And so we come back. Now I'm kind of grinning a little bit. And he's going, "You want me to knock that grin off your face?" And I said, "You might as well. You can't dribble." So the game goes on a little bit. And next thing I know, he's here. The ball's over here. I got my hand on him, and he's knocking it down. And I'm getting my hand on him, knocking it down. All of a sudden, I look up, and he goes, bam, and he hits me. When he hits me, I got a hold of his jersey, so I come back, and I hit him back.
Yeah.
So we're on the floor, blah, blah, blah. They kick us both out of the ball game. I go in there, and Coach Rupp comes in at halftime, and he says, my God, I've never been so embarrassed. Just think, what will your family think? What will the university think? What will the... And he just reamed me.
Is that right?
And I just sat there and took it. Game's over, sitting up in my hotel room with Darrell Bishop was my roommate, the first African-American to ever play basketball in Kentucky. And he's up in the room, and we're sitting there and watching TV, and I got ice on my jaw, and the door knocks, and it's Dan and Sherry Isfel. Dan comes in and says, you okay? And I went, yeah. I said, I guess I'm gone. I said, Coach Rupp's I'm off the team. He went, what? You ain't off the team for one little fight? He said, before we went out, Coach Rupp came in, he says, all right, some of you boys need to play a little holler. By golly, we got a little freshman that ain't afraid to get after it. And he said that to the varsity team.
Yeah.
But Issel told me this. He said, Doug, he said, who brings the ball up the floor for your freshman team? And he said, who else? No, me. He said, think how selfish you were. He said, I want you to watch how many times I take cheap shots during the game, because they know if they get me out of the game, they got a chance to beat Kentucky.
Right.
He said, you got selfish. And when they got you out of the game, we won 1 point in overtime. We were up by 20.
Right.
We won 1 point in overtime. And he says, don't let that change. He said, the team comes first. And I went, wow. So there were times where I was out at second, and I'd smack a tag on somebody, and they'd say safe, and I wanted to be thrown out or say something so bad. And I thought, well, I can still make a play to keep that run from scoring. So I didn't say anything because of what I learned that night with Dan.
That's right.
And so
I mean, what I hear, the pattern is that your humility, because I think to be held accountable, you have to have a lot of humility. So many people get defensive whenever you try to receive feedback, and that's a quality that you said you took from your mom.
You know what? I took it from my mom and my dad, and they got it from biblical passages. When you realize that all the stuff that we have is not ours, we're just stewards.
Right.
Whether it be money or your talent, whatever, we're just stewards of all that. It took me a long time to realize it. Why did all of these things happen? It could have happened to anybody else. Why did it happen to me? And I don't understand that, other than I know God's good and I try to be faithful. But, there's a lot of really good, faithful people out there that didn't have the career I had.
Sure.
But I learned all that from mom and dad. That part of it is, don't get too cocky. And I was really glad that they helped me. Now, there's some people that'll tell you I'm pretty cocky. And you try not to be, because my sense of humor sometimes gets in my way.
Yeah.
And like my wife will say, we'll be sitting there sometimes, she'll go, really? Really? I went, he opened it up. He gave me a good time to do it.
Right.
He put it on a tee.
There
He
you
wound
go.
it up at the rim. All I had to do was dunk it, right?
That's right.
Let me ask you this, because I think it's very interesting, you kind of going down this path that you're going down, of people that have done as much as you, that have reached the top of the game. A lot have spent their whole life chasing this thing, and they think, my golly, if I could play in the big leagues one day. You look around, there's Pete Rose and Johnny Bench, and you win 2 World Series titles, and you got a Golden Glove. Was there ever a moment when you got through that where you said, is this it? Is there something more? I just feel like so many people I run into hit a moment. Did that moment ever pop for you?
Yep.
Would you like to
Sometimes
expand?
still does.
Yes.
You think, all right, I'd finished. It started, I think, I had a really good defensive year. I'm wearing a Rawlings glove. I finished runner-up with a Gold Glove. Thinking, man. Then the next year, I lead the league in assists, putouts, double plays, total chances, fielding percentage, and I don't get a Gold Glove. And I'm thinking, man, how do you get one of these things? Next year, I play 128 games, break my wrist, and I'm thinking, well, there it goes. I win a Gold Glove. So I'm thinking, wow. So then I got it, and I was almost more ticked off that I didn't get those others than when I did get the one that I was after.
Huh.
And I was a runner-up 3 times for trying to get that Gold Glove. And when I got it, then I'm thinking, all right, what's next? What can you get next?
That's right.
And you start, I didn't realize how selfish I was until I realized how selfish I was.
Isn't that every human though? Right?
Yeah.
We're selfish in nature.
And the more I grow in my faith, the more I know there's only one thing that's going to fill that void, and it's not stuff. It's not money. And there are 2 lessons I learned. One is that it's not mine, and 2, the best thing my wife and I ever did was when we started tithing. When we started realizing that, all right, it's not ours, let's give God what's his, and how he replenishes that and where he does it and when he does it still blows my mind. Great example. My wife wanted to go to Africa. So we get out of baseball in 86. I didn't make a lot of money playing ball. So we want to go. So now we're trying to be very diligent with our finances and stuff then. And so it's going to cost $4,000 for her to go. And they said, well, we'll help pay for it, church. No, we'll pay for it. So this is 1980, maybe the late 80s, I guess. So I get a check from Major League Baseball every year for licensing stuff. Well, the most I'd ever got was been like a couple $100 or a couple $1,000. So all of a sudden we go to church and she has to let them know that day if she can go. And my mom brings me the mail over. We open up one. There's a check there for
$4,000.
$4,000.
You can't make this up.
You can't make it up.
She was
You
meant to
cannot make it up.
Yeah.
And that happens in our life so many times.
Yeah.
Just those blessings. And they're not, I get excited when I go someplace and a parking lot opens right next to it. When I'm going in, this is so cool. And people look at me sometimes and go, you're an idiot. Well, probably. But thank you, Lord, for, that.
Yeah.
Or you're late somewhere and the lights, boom, hit right. And you're cruising down. And you're thinking, I think God's got a wonderful sense of humor.
Yes.
I really do. And
I
I'm
do
so
too.
thankful he does that. And so, but when you start learning how to appreciate those things, man, it just frees you up to do so many other things. I wasn't like that always.
Yeah.
I was pretty much a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Go to church, know the Bible verses, could share my faith. And then it turned around when I went we did a bicycle trip in 1979. We rode from Philadelphia to Florida on a bicycle.
Wow.
Smart, huh? And it was all for a charity. And we get down to Florida, and they say, would any of you guys like to go to this FCA thing? It's there's going to be a couple thousand people there and speak. And I went, I'll do it. So I went over, I spoke, it's over. Guy comes up to me afterwards. He says, hey, Doug, how you doing? I said, good. He said, I'm from Lexington. I went, oh, man, that's so cool. He says, you know that stuff you just said? I went, yeah. He said, that's the biggest crock I believe I've heard in a while. And I went, yeah, you're probably right. And it was. I was telling things not about me. I was telling things I'd heard about other really good, solid Christians.
Yeah.
And I went home that night and I cried and I went, what a dummy. So now I get married. My wife and I struggle the first year because I'm 30, she's 23 or 4. It's going to be rough. Come home one day, she says, I've sent money off. We're going to a pro athletes outreach seminar. And I went, I can't, I'm going fishing. That's the only time I got in the off season to go fishing. This is 1984. And she says, well, you're not going fishing. We're going.
Yes.
Whoa. We go to that, and it turned our whole life around.
Wow.
What
did you learn there?
I learned that if my marriage was going to stay together, then I better base it on biblical principles. Not on what the world thinks, but on what the Bible says. It teaches me how to love. It teaches me how to have respect. It teaches me all about my finances. There's nothing in there it doesn't say. Right. But I was also around other ball players and other financial people like Don Christensen. I don't know if y'all know Don from Louisville. Don and Norm Evans, who was with PAO, and there were other ball players and their wives, and we all sat and talked. We realized these are the struggles that we're going through as professional athletes. How are we handling them?
Yes.
And then we all through that conference, we ended up going on the board with it and realizing that, all right, in everything that we do, not just our marriage, in every business decision, every decision about our house or whatever, we need to first go to the Lord and see what he says about it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. People say, does he talk to you? Yeah, not audibly. I'd probably scare the heck out of me if I were to hear him, but he speaks at me through music
Yeah.
and thoughts, and it's just so cool.
You know,
That
I think,
whole- Go
I
ahead.
think that's something that we've lost in our culture today. I was just talking with a friend this week, a man about your age, and he said, I just don't hear God. And I said, well, do you create the environment to listen to him? Because we don't know how to put our phones down. We don't know how to create quiet space. And JP and I have a challenge with each other to really hold each other accountable to have that quiet time in your life. You know, like he speaks through music, he speaks through thoughts.
Amen.
But when you create that environment to be quiet and actually shut up, he will speak to you.
Amen.
And it might not be every time, but you keep showing up. He cannot be outdone in generosity.
What's that song? Thank God for unanswered prayers.
Yes. Isn't that true?
Yeah,
But
it really
Olga
is.
was saying that about the first guy she was with, right? I wanted to shift just a little bit here. You know, when we talked last week, you shared something really personal with me that really changed your all's life and was a big defining moment. That in 1977, your sister, who was only 18 months younger than you, went disappearing. And that'll be 50 years next year, and she's never been found since.
Yep.
How did that impact your life then and today?
Well, it about screwed up my career because 1977, you know, we were coming off back-to-back World Series, going to spring training in 77, and then in January 25th, she disappears. Well, I'm getting ready to go down to Florida for spring training. So I called the Reds, and I said, Dick Wagner was the general manager. I said, Mr. Wagner, this is going on in my life. I don't want to stay at the hotel where the team is staying and all the media are staying. I want to get a room someplace for me and my folks that's going to be away from all of that. And he went, well, you only got 2 years in the big leagues. You have to have 3 years in the big leagues to do that. I said, I know the rules, but this is kind of different.
Extenuating circumstance.
And he says, well, I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. If I do it for you, I have to do it for everybody. And I said, Mr. Wagner, I quit. And I hung up the phone. And I was serious. I was ready to quit.
Yep.
So Pete calls me about an hour later, and he's laughing. He said, you quit? I went, yeah, quit. And he said, seriously? I said, Pete, I got 2 years in the big leagues. We got 2 World Series champions. The only place I got to go from here is down. And he started laughing. He said, you didn't quit. He said, I got a place down at the King Arthur's Inn, and I've got a room for you, and then I've got another room for you and your mom, for your mom and your dad. And I said, what did Mr. Wagner say? He said, don't worry about Mr. Wagner, in uncertain terms. I said, all right. So mom and dad came down, and, you know, we went through all the phone calls. We were trying to stay in touch with the police. What I didn't realize at this time is every bit of information we were given to the police was being used for their advantage and then disappearing. And I've said it before, the police covered up my sister's murder. Wow. And it's been covered up for 50 years. And there's some people that are still around here that had something to do with it. I've never said this before, that had something to do with it, and they know about it, but it's a cover-up. And it's either, and I told our chief of police, I said, this is either the dumbest police department in the world if you can't figure this one out, or it's a cover-up. Now you tell me which one it is. And of course, they say it's an open case to this day. I don't believe it. If it is, they're not talking to me about it. They're not talking to my brother about it. And now mom and dad are gone, but it breaks your heart to grow up in a town that you love and you've been a part of and you contribute to know that local people got rid of your sister and nothing was done about it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where you go. We'd hire a detective every now and then. They'd get run out of town. They'd do a story on TV. They would be run out of town. They'd run 2 or 3 reporters out of town. And so you just, you know, and then recently, and I think God is telling me now, I may not want you to know everything that happened.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I am now. You know, I think because we've prayed every prayer you could pray to try to get this settled. I'm thinking maybe God's saying, I just don't think you need to know. You just trust that I got it under control.
Sure.
So that's a deeper surrender.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But, you know, that year I went to the big leagues after that. Now I get traded in 77. I go to New York. Now you got to fight, not 5 reporters, you got 50.
Yeah.
And they're all asking you, And so I have a
This
loud.
story was pretty big.
It was big around here. Yeah, there was a book out.
Yeah,
Bluegrass
Bluegrass
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
That a lot of people
But
from
it's
here have read.
you won't see a lot of quotes from the Flynn family because the lady who did it, we would tell her certain things, and she'd say, "Well, I can't write that. We might get sued." I went, "Sue me.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go. I want to go to court."
Truth.
Here's
I
the
want the
story.
truth.
Yeah, let's go to court. Let them do that. Of course, that never happened. So
I don't know if you ever, fully get over that kind of grief. You find ways to get through it. Obviously, you've got to a place where you say, hey, look, there might be some questions we have that don't get answered on this side of heaven. For someone who's listening, going through that type of grief loss, any advice for what helps you the most? How do you get through it?
the only advice I have is just to know that God is real. Christ died for your sins. He took all of that junk in your life. And this is part of the junk in my life.
Yeah.
And he put it on the cross, and he loves us. And one day it's all going to be new. I just think if you start doubting God about some things, you might start doubting him about others. How can I doubt him that he doesn't know what's best in this situation?
Yeah.
And I don't have any answers. I mean, someone told me this. They said, you know what the most often heard word in heaven is going to be? I'll ask you to. The
Why?
most often heard word in
Why?
heaven. Why?
Wow.
Wow.
You ready?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because we don't know.
Yeah.
And
But
we
we
don't
don't know.
often need to know.
And I don't understand. I mean, I've got friends that lost a baby like the day the baby was due.
Yes.
And it was born. I mean, how do you explain that?
Well, on that note, I think it's consensus. There is no greater pain in this world than losing a child. You know, I hope I never have to. Pray that I never experience that. But watching your parents deal with this,
That's what hurts me the most. I wish there'd been some closure for mom and dad.
right,
It ate my dad up his whole life.
right,
People didn't know it. I never said, when I went to New York, I never used it as an excuse. I never, but it was miserable. I thought my career would be over in 96 when I got traded up there in 77.
yeah,
Because I go and I'm not playing good, and the New York fans and media can be pretty tough. Sinatra knew what he's talking about when he said, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
sure,
And even to this day, there's people that hate me because I was part of the Tom Seaver trade. I still get nasty stuff from these
you
guys.
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, it is crazy. I know. And there's podcasts up there. There's a guy who's got a big podcast, and he was, I looked him up. He got on me pretty good not too long ago. He was 3 years old when I was playing. So he obviously knows a lot about it. And that stuff used to eat at me, and God's taken that away now because I realize, so what?
Yeah.
It's not, but the stuff with my sister, I think every day about her. She was beautiful. She was talented.
yeah,
And to think that there were people around here that know something about it that I still see,
sure,
and you know a lot of them.
yeah.
That just, I keep thinking on somebody's deathbed they're going to say, "All right, I'm going to spill the beans."
Yes.
But 50 years later, nobody's ever done that.
Yeah, we interviewed Chip Mahan, my mentor, the last episode, and he lost his father in a plane crash when he was 11 years old. And I asked him, how did it change you? And he just said, look, I was this docile little kid, and I kind of had to get serious about the world. I'm just curious, after that incident, something like that, did you look at the game any different, or did it reshape you at all?
It did a little bit, not as much as having cancer,
Right.
but it did. It put me on edge for a long time. I wasn't good to be around at that time because it made me not trust anybody.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I learned through all of that is, be very careful with, and that's probably what made me get more into my prayer life is when I see things that look good on the outside or they seem to be okay. Let's go study it a little bit more.
We always say everybody's carrying something you know nothing about.
Yeah.
And there's, we want to think that we go through this world, and especially if you believe in God, that everything's going to be good. But you look at the cross and you remember.
Yeah.
I always think Christ himself didn't go to heaven without massive suffering. And suffering is a part of life. And I think when you start to accept that and say, how can this mold and shape and refine me to be a better human, a more compassionate human? How can this bring me closer to you, God? Because when you're at your bottom, it's when you need him the most.
Amen. Amen.
And it really is beautiful just to see. Just
You should
to
be
see.
an author or something, you know?
Thought about it a time or two.
Y'all go get MK's book. You'll learn a lot.
No, but it really is just beautiful to hear your walk of surrender into that and your humility in that, because what can you do?
Yeah, you better. I mean, there's still people that are getting eaten up by tragedies that have happened. And there's some point in time where you have to. When I got cancer in 2010, that probably changed me as much as anything too, realizing that how fragile life can be, but also it really helped me start smelling the roses and
Enjoying
doing
the
stuff.
day-to-day.
Yeah, but
How do you do that, do you think? Because, we interview a lot of business people that are highly successful, hard charging, trying to balance it all. And, it's like when you get them alone, it's almost like, man, I'm just trying to find ways to slow down and enjoy this. I still want to move mountains, but I'd rather go for some hikes and take the air in and see a few flowers. How have you done that?
Well, it's been pretty easy. It's just kind of it's my dad. My dad worked, he was 88. If he hadn't fallen out of the attic, he'd still be working probably.
Unbelievable.
But he kept going because, he just loved to do it. It's like, I'm thinking, going to be 75 here shortly. And everybody, when are you going to retire? Well, I don't know. I kind of enjoy what I'm doing. But I've got flexibility to do the things I really like. Like I really like to go fishing. I really like to go golf. My wife loves to travel, so needless to say, I love to travel. It's false. But I will travel, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
she likes that. So, we've been so blessed to do so many cool things. Like I still stay around the game of baseball a little bit, on the board of the Reds Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I still do fantasy camps for 3 different teams. So, I'm still doing the stuff that I know and stuff that I love. And there's a core group of folks around here in Lexington that have always been so solid. I love my Christian friends in this town because you don't have to put on any airs at all about anything you're doing. Yeah. They know.
Right.
This is who I am. And if you're not that person, they'll let you know that.
Yes.
And I
Accountability
love
piece.
that.
Yeah.
Accountability.
I absolutely love that accountability. And so we're, for people that get too busy, be careful because, all right, as successful as I would played 11 years of Major League Baseball. If you ask most people about Doug Flynn, they don't have a clue who I was because I was a Major League player. There's thousands that were so much better than me and made more money and hit more home runs and did all this. So, yeah, I got to a level. I didn't get as good as they were. But I think people have the wrong impression of what contentment is. Some people might be content with $1 million. Some might say that's a good start. I need 10 or 20 or 50 or whatever. They're not. Some will never be content. And we've got friends like that right now. There's never enough. They're never happy enough.
Sure.
I think just through just what God has done for me, he's allowed me, like Paul, I've been content with nothing. I can be content with a lot, because that's not the focus. The focus is on my relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Period.
And contentment really is a virtue. And like you said, I think if $1 million's not enough, 10 million won't be enough. It will never be enough.
Well, people talk about ball players that, that guy's can you say turd on the air?
You can.
That guy's a turd. Well, he was a turd with no money. You think he's going to be a good guy with a
Bigger
whole lot
turd.
of money?
Bigger turd.
He's a
with
bigger
more money,
turd.
right?
I've always said it just makes you more what you already are.
Exactly.
If you're a peckerwood before, you're going to be a bigger peckerwood.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
But
And we've
also
also
the same things works for the generosity piece. If you're generous with a little, when you walk into something that's like, you will also be generous there.
True.
I really feel that way.
Yeah, I do
That's
too.
biblical there.
I love it. I do. I know we're coming in here towards the end, but not many people know about your musical talent. You were a singer.
Good.
Come on,
country
Elvira.
music,
Come on, Elvira.
and you went on tour with the Oak Ridge Boys back in the early
That's
80s,
the story.
right? I mean, tell us just where did that come from?
You want the scoop?
Oh yeah.
Scoop us.
All right. So I'd met the Oak Ridge Boys back in the mid 70s, right? So through Johnny Bench, that's how I met most of the people I knew in the music business. So I stayed in touch with them. So 1981, we go on strike for 57 days in the big leagues. So Joe Bonzel, who passed away recently, the tenor, calls me up and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just trying to stay in shape. We don't know when we're going back to work." He said, "You want to go on the road a week with us?" And I went, "Sure." So he said, "All right, drive to Nashville. We'll pick you up. we'll get on the bus, and then we'll head for our little thing. So we went several different places. So one night we're in, might have been Omaha, and something happened. They had a little lull, and I'm just backstage having a big time. Meanwhile, during the day, we'd go out and I'd run. Richard Sturban used to run all the time. So we'd run, and then we'd throw. I said, I got to keep my arm in shape and stay in it. Right. So now we're on stage, and something happens, and Joe Bonzo says, we got a buddy traveling with us, says he's a 2-time World Series champion, just won a Gold Glove last year. He says, Doug Flynn. So I stick my head around the corner. I went, hey, Doug. And he went, no, come here. So he said, there's a rumor you've been singing around town with a group. And I said, yeah, I've done it for a few years. Wouldn't you all like to hear Doug sing a song?
Yes.
I said, well, I know most all of your all songs. And he went, no, you're not going to screw up one of ours. So they kicked off, Hey, Good Looking. Uh-huh. And they hit the chorus, Hey, good looking. So we get to the first verse, and they all go, no, I got a hot rod for it. And so I just go ahead and take it, the first verse, and sing. Well, we got to be a habit. We would do that each night. So the writers get a hold of it. Doug is touring with the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yes, there we go. That's all we need to know. That's just the headline we're going with.
That is fantastic.
And it was so fun watching them work and the crowds they had. And it was just, and then I've stayed in touch. I still talk to Richard Sturban and Dwayne Allen pretty regularly, who are still with them. Richard's just gone through cancer, but he's back on stage doing something. He's the one who sings deep. Okay. Papa Mau Mau. And then Dwayne married, he lost his wife. She's from Kentucky. And so I stay in touch with them, and they're mid-80s.
Yeah. Now, if somebody hands you a mic today and you got a big crowd and you need to go to the one go-to song, as Will Ferrell says, to get the people going.
Wow.
What are we bringing?
Well, if we really want to do it, we'd probably do some Skinner or something like The Breeze.
Yeah.
Something that's upbeat, some Temple.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
A man of many talents.
Well, you realize that you don't have to be good. You just have to have guts.
I think singing, you got to be good.
No.
You don't think so?
No. I want to be, but you don't have to be.
Smile all day long. People be like, he's having a good time, but this is awful.
All right, listen. So I do sing some with the Gatlin brothers too. How bad can you be when you got those guys singing with you?
Right.
Like when we played on this little celebrity golf tour, and Rudy and Steve Gatlin, Larry wouldn't come because he had other stuff he was doing. So I'd get up and sing All the Gold and Houston with the two Gatlin brothers. Matter of fact, the golf tournament last year, we did All the Gold at the tournament over for Evan Mossberger.
Yes.
Rudy was there, and with the group we had, we got up and sang. So I love it, and I'd sing with Greg Austin here for years. Greg's still singing. Greg Austin was the best athlete I ever saw in this town.
Is that right?
Played basketball at Lafayette, football, was a state triple jump champion, could throw a football a mile, and played basketball at Auburn. But he's still singing around town.
He's still doing it.
Yeah,
still
I love it.
It's so interesting just to hear you have lived so many lives within this one life, right? It's
not over.
That's right. Still going. And I love that because I think so many people get to retirement age and just want to kind of have coffee in the morning and wine at night. And I have such an appreciation and gratitude for those that keep going because wisdom comes with age and we need the wisdom.
That's what my wife is hoping.
Not only with age. It doesn't necessarily come with age. I know a lot of old people that aren't so wise, but it really does come with age. And we need the wisdom of your generation to keep going. And
I agree.
Thank you.
And that generation before me, the greatest generation, I think, with my dad's group, all those were in war and everything.
They're tough.
They are tough. That's why I got involved with something called Hope for the Warriors. I'm trying to help as many military folks as we can. Me and Johnny Bench have been with them 21 years, and that's because of what they did. All of us get to do what we do.
No doubt, no doubt.
Absolutely.
What are you still growing into today? I mean, you haven't slowed down, and I totally agree with you. I thought like when I was younger, retirement sounds so cool. I've thrown all that away. Like I've watched people and. So look, if I'm excited to leave the house in the morning, do what I do, excited to come home, that feels pretty good from a success definition, right? But what do you think you're still growing into today? Or
well, I love to fish, and I love to fish tournaments.
Yep,
I've done. I want to shoot my age in golf. I shot when I was 73. I shot it. Last year I only played twice, So
you know, was this like, you know, this wasn't like a par 3 kind of deal, was it?
No,
I
it's
mean,
just-
this is, you shot 73.
yeah,
Dang.
shot it with my
That's great.
Saturday morning group. Had witnesses and everything.
You got witnesses. 73 pretty strong.
Yeah, it's very strong. So I want to, and as you get older, it should be easier, right?
You only get a stroke a year.
So I'm actually going out today, this afternoon, and get me a little lesson in with my buddy Brad Bashan at Man of War.
Yeah.
But I want to start playing more because I like getting out and playing. I like, there's a lot of events you can meet people while you're doing that. But my passion probably is fishing.
Yeah.
And then, so now I'm starting getting back in shape, and you know, it's important. I don't want to go out sickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go out kicking and screaming. Let's go.
Keep moving. Keep
Keep
doing
moving.
it, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather wear out than rust out.
There you go. That's
And my
a good
wife
one.
is at the gym like 2 or 3 times a day, so I kind of got to keep up.
Gotta keep up with her.
I
That's
know.
right. That's right. Well, you shared so much wisdom with us, and we kind of like to end with a little bit of rapid fire, if that's okay with
Bring
you.
it.
So, all right, one moment in your life you relive if you could.
Catching a 10-pound, 3-ounce bass.
Oh, there's that fishing love, right? One moment that changed you forever.
Pro Athletes Outreach Conference.
Where you talked about especially changing your marriage first.
Yep.
A teammate who pushed you the hardest.
Pete Rose.
A teammate who made you better as a man, not just a player.
Frank Tanana.
All right, and at the end of it all, what's mattered the most?
My personal relationship with Jesus Christ is the most important of anything I've ever done or ever will do. You can't just know him or know of him. You got to know him. And that's because of that, my life is so much better.
Doug, I'll say this. You know, I think it's really sad sometimes when you see people that play at a high level, and then you know, for the next 20 years, you see them sitting at the end of the bar, kind of wanting to relive the glory years and talk about it all. And you know, if people didn't know you, they would never know that you played one inning. I think you're just a good, humble dude that's living out his faith. And you've transitioned on to things that are bigger than you, the work that you're doing in this community and have always done through charitable. Doug, the way you carry yourself, you give people like me a playbook and a role model to imitate. So for that, not only sitting down with us, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Well, it's an honor to be with you. Both of your all's reputations are so good. And when I saw the list of people that you were having, I'm thinking, all right, maybe they need some comic relief. So,
We love to laugh. No, I mean you've shared so many great defining moments with us, and I know will bless our audience. So thank you for being here.
thank you very much.